Yeah, that's good. As a matter of fact, so yeah, John Maxwell is kind of our connection. And when I first began to learn about you and your work, I think it was the end of 2021 and the beginning of 2022. You had recently released a book called The Eight Paradoxes of Leadership. And I think I helped promote a book club that you were doing there at the beginning of 2022. But my questions around that book, because this is actually the book that I mentioned that I put on the reading list in my book that people should read. But if we can kind of go back in time a little bit to the eight paradoxes, what was happening or what is happening in culture these days that caused you to write about that topic in the first place?
Uh, well, I was noticing that leading people was different than it was at the beginning of my career. And certainly leadership is different post pandemic. I think everybody would automatically nod and go, of course it is. We haven't returned to what we had before. Maybe it's good that we've not returned to what we had before. But I just felt like the leaders that were flourishing in the middle of the pandemic and post pandemic were people that had mastered emotional intelligence, and not just the fundamentals of self-awareness, social awareness, self-management. Those are the fundamentals. But people that began to understand that emotional intelligence is reading your people before you're leading your people. So the paradoxes, will, in short, are you're reading a situation, and at one point in the day, your people might need confidence from you. And another part of the day, they might need humility from you, which seems oxymoronic, but it's really not. It's just you knowing, what do my people need right now? So that book, Eight Paradoxes, is all about you not just being one way about your leadership. This is my personality. They better like it. It's more saying, I got to see what my people need and be what they need so we can flourish in the end.
Just had a great interview the other day with a gentleman who is releasing a book in the next month or so. And I realized as I read his book that the bulk of his book is all about like tensions, like acknowledging that within leadership, within organizations, there are these tensions that exist. So what you're describing really sounds like a tension issue. And so my question for you is, because as you know, leaders or people that are in positions of leadership or positions of authority, they have a tendency to go all in and say, I'm going to be nothing but this way, confident for like a year, and let's see how it works out, without really reading the situation as it comes up. So when you've seen a lack of the practice of these paradoxes, what's usually true about organizations that lack those things?
Wow, that's a great question. I would say what I see is that people begin to accumulate distorted narratives in their head, maybe inaccurate narratives about what's really going on. We fill vacuums with our own stories, right or wrong, when we're not quite sure what's happening. And we often, because of our amygdala in our brain, start believing the worst. We get fearful and anxious. So I have a metaphor, Will, that I think best answers that question. I love to teach leadership principles through metaphors, images. The image I use for what I'm about to say, for what I'm trying to say, is dentists and cavities. I know that's random. Here's what I mean. Have you ever noticed when you go to the dentist and the dentist finds a cavity in your mouth, he or she will say, ooh, found a cavity. Could you stay a little bit longer right now and I'll fill it right now? Or if not, could you come back as soon as possible so I can fill it? And we all know the reason they say that is because they know if they don't fill that cavity, something else, like bacteria, is going to fill that cavity. So it is with teams. When leaders don't fill the cavities in our minds with the accurate information, with the true story of what's really happening, we'll make up stuff because we're anxious. We don't lack IQ, we lack EQ. So I believe when we're not reading our people and reading the situation, the culture, as you mentioned before, we're going to come up with people that, well, smart people could do really dumb things. Can I say that here? And so far too often we say that. So I think the eight paradox is all about me being very wise in every circumstance I'm in to know exactly what's needed to get the people to the goal.